How's it going, everyone? I'm Jamie, and this is Time and Tries. So, on this podcast, we have got Dan Dixon. Dan Dixon is a Northeast triathlete on Team GB, currently racing full time. He races Super League, sprint tries, and Olympic distance. He represented England for the Commonwealth Games, and yeah, we're going to have a catch up, see how he's been getting on. So I've got Dan on the podcast today. So we're going to talk all things try, I guess, or darts. Completely up to you. Whatever you
Yeah.
sport is.
Talk about darts, mate. Yeah, I actually got a Luke the Nuke darts board, so I
So
don't
have
play
I.
anything like him, but manifesting.
So have I. Just got myself a set of K flexes. Beautiful.
Nice.
I've gone full sweat on darts, like
Just like every other man in the UK since
exactly.
December.
So what's going on with you? How are you doing? What are you doing?
Not much. Just completing lots of side quests and trying to get back to full health here in Leeds.
Fighting fit.
Yeah, just lots going on. Yeah,
Nice.
not quite. I'm just taking my time to get back. It's been a big injury, but yeah, it is a bit of a roller coaster as with any long-term injury. So yeah,
No,
just
I can imagine.
a lot of patience.
But do you think it came at the right time with it, like Olympics last year? So you've got kind of 4 years, I guess, to the next one.
Yeah. I mean, there's never a right time to get injured, not at this level. Yeah, I mean, one of the guys in the federation said like quite a good thing, which I think sums it up quite nicely. Was like, it's possibly not the year that you wanted, but the year that I needed. There's an interesting way of framing it. And I mean, obviously a big change of setup and like it's my first real serious injury, and I've done triathlon for like probably over a decade now.
Yeah.
So I've done fairly well to avoid anything
Yeah.
serious. But yeah, just a lot of working and moving pieces over the last year, even though I've kind of been completely away from all the racing and the hype of it all.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you've missed it, have you?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through phases. To start with, I was not bothered at all. Yeah, I wasn't bothered one bit, and then I just totally fell out of love with it. Just was not interested, and then gradually kind of found a new path and a new way of doing stuff. And then I'm enjoying it a lot more again now. Like it's really testing because obviously I'm still trying to get back to full health, and obviously it's a pretty brutal sport as it is, without having to deal with like your body constantly throwing you like curveballs every other week. But yeah, no, it's good, and I'm a lot happier in the place that I am now in Leeds. So
nice. But yeah, I guess that's kind of because I wanted this pod to keep kind of be like professionals, amateurs, kind of a bit of everything. I guess falling out of the love of sport does kind of happen to everyone, even especially for age groupers. Because like, for instance, this morning my alarm went off at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you kind of think, why the fuck am I doing this? It's like, this is just a hobby. It's not a job. Like, there's people doing ridiculous jobs full time and then still having to train. So I guess it does happen to people, but especially when it's your job.
Was that for the trusty Jesmond swim?
Trusty Jesmond swim.
Yeah.
Five.
That's what champions are made in that pool.
Then it's made me learn how to actually swim.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like sometimes I'm like at the other side of the spectrum in terms of like, this is my job, if you want to call it that. Like, it doesn't really feel like a real job. But like, it is what I'm getting kind of paid to do in essence. Yeah, like obviously with a big injury like this, like it is a bit odd because then suddenly like that's the thing that you're being kind of, paid to do full time, and suddenly like you're not able to do it. And obviously racing is a massive part.
Yeah,
it's not just like training and like so not turning up to races, and there's a whole kind of cluster of things that come along with that from a professional point of view. Like in terms of missing out on Superdry and FGPs and sponsorship opportunities. Obviously, I can't give back the same way when I'm injured and not racing. It is odd, but like it makes you definitely feel lucky that you're able to do it, because obviously there's people who would love to be professional, So it definitely, yeah, there's a lot of perspective involved with a long-term injury.
Yeah, and I think, do you think, because this is why I wanted to get you on to kind of talk about where the direction of try is going. Do you think, like the guy at the federation said, I know it's not the perfect time for an injury, but do you think a lot of people that in the tri world are going to kind of the middle distance, longer distance, whilst they've still got 3 years, 4 years till the next Olympics? So it's probably a good
Yeah,
opportunity for
definitely.
you to like get back in because everyone's focusing on different things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, you even seen where like Alex Yee is going for the marathon. I would say most of what you could term like the old guard in the sport, in the short course side, have kind of moved on.
Yeah.
You've even got quite a few legends of the sports retiring as well, like Alistair. So,
Hmm.
like you're seeing a lot of change. I think it's probably the biggest change that there's kind of been in triathlon for a long time.
Yeah.
Certainly, certainly speaking from like the men's side of the sport, I mean, certainly like even on the women's, there's a lot of change.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think people are gravitating towards like the kind of T100. There's an awful lot of races in it. And yeah, just these sort of professional leagues, because obviously the reality is like there's an awful lot of money up for grabs.
Yeah.
The training is not too dissimilar to Olympic distance because it isn't that much further. And it seems to be suiting a lot of the short course guys and girls really well. So, yeah, and obviously you've got some freaks out there like Taylor Knibb, who's, she's doing Olympic time trial and then she's racing the triathlon. And, there's some really special athletes out there. Yeah, everything. So I think it's a cool time for the sport, but it kind of feels like it doesn't know what it's doing itself. Like it's an exciting time and there's an awful lot going on. But I also think it's like, it's one of those things that from an athlete perspective, there's an awful lot of choice in terms of racing. Like, I mean, like if you're good enough, you could race a whole plethora of different things, but also, like it's hard to make decisions. And also I think it's starting to put more pressure on athletes just in the sense that you see like the first World Series of the year starting, last weekend. That's the highest tier of the sport. And like, they're not really giving athletes a great deal of chance to have that off season, that real heavy winter block, like for what was kind of a traditional summer sport, you can basically do triathlon all year round now. So I think like, even from that perspective, the whole dynamic is shifting. And I think on the whole though, like you would rather see it go in that direction, more money being put in, more events, etc. And I think it will just slowly shape over the next few years.
Do you think people in the sport are kind of, especially professionals, are having to make a decision of which direction they do go? Because I mean, Kat Matthews, for example, she was a good example where she did the Pro Series and she did some of the T1 as well and did really well in it. But I think there's a lot of athletes who kind of have to make a choice of what direction they go in rather than, because there used to be not as many races, you could kind of pick and choose and do them all. Whereas now you're kind of stuck to one series.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely if you signed with the PTO, like, you're not able to, like, there's nothing saying you kind of go and race other stuff, but like, there is so many races now in that series that like trying to delve back into World Series or into like an Ironman event or whatever, like it is challenging. And I think that's where like you have all these like numerous different professional races now. And so, yeah, like choosing the race is hard because it's hard enough having to jump between like sprint and Olympic distance. But like, yes, the training for T100 is like similar-ish, but like actually it's a fair strain on your body if you're doing like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 3 and a bit hour races. It's not a sport where you can just race every weekend like Formula One or like football and stuff like that. Like, you need time to be able to prepare. So yeah, like I think that's where you're probably going to find like athletes will focus on one area more. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see who goes where. And it may create, just like in running has over the last few years, like kind of specialities in different distances. Like you get people who are really specifically dialed into a certain race, just like you get 800-meter runners who are amazing at 800, but they may not be able to step up to 1500. Like it may take a bit of time to kind of start to specialize in the 15s. Again, it's up to the athletes. Again, you've got those freaks like your Blumenfelds, your Taylor Knibbs. There is people who can kind of, do it all. But I think a lot of people, even myself, have tried to like delve into different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
to go from like, say an indoor arena games triathlon to like a sprint distance, to then like a relay to a half Ironman to like an Olympic distance, it is so hard trying to like just focus on one specific distance or one specific goal now. But again, it's like, would you rather have like little choice or more choice, And I think ultimately there's enough choice there now for people to have that specialization.
But do you think then that's gonna, because yeah, I haven't noticed it much, but like the divide between kind of middle distance T100, 70.3, and then Ironman, because there's not many people who've kind of made a successful jump, but like you said, Christian, people like that, who are kind of just freaks and can do everything. Do you see that being a kind of divide eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that is a somewhat a divide at the minute between the middle and the like that long distance, because like, like I definitely have chatted to like plenty of the long course pros, certainly when I was training out in America. And I mean, it is, Ironman still remains like a different beast as itself. Like, like it's T100s, like they're very similar, even, Olympic distance to an extent. Like when you look at what the pros are capable of doing for like, those different durations. But when it comes to Ironman, like obviously it is getting ridiculously quick. Like,
Yeah,
ridiculously quick, and there's probably a portion of that is to do with technology, the training, etc. But the reality is you're still out there for like an awful long time, and much longer than any other triathlon. So I just think like, I've only done up to 70.3, so I can't really comment how it feels doing an Ironman. I think Ironman, maybe down the line it will become like equally just as fast, but it's still just in its own kind of ballpark right now. Like, yeah.
But do you think as well, going kind of down the distances, do you think, especially kind of like the federation stuff, like sprint tries, Olympic distance tries, do you think like new people coming into the sport are just going to sack that off and go straight to being a kind of, how do you call it, like a trade professional, just doing kind of private races with the Ironmans, T100, things like that, and just skipping kind of GB and getting rid of it?
Yeah. I mean, I think, regardless of like age group or elite or whatever stage you're coming in, I mean, when you look at it, like, there's probably a lot more races as far as like, because a lot of the T100s are putting on like age group races. Even now, like Super Tri is putting on like, you've got age group races at the different events. So it's just like, a lot of, I know Super Tri is obviously shorter, but you have got a lot of these professional races that also put on amateur races, and obviously Ironman being the pinnacle where you're all basically thrown in together and challenge races, etc. I mean, it's difficult. Like, as a younger person, like, you look and you're like, well, like, you could probably transition to long course, and there's just as good of a opportunity there now. It's just kind of the framework, certainly in the UK and a lot of European countries, is that you would go through shorter stuff first. And I think probably as a younger person, that will probably be the pathway that people continue to go through, just because I think with the longer stuff, you got to be like, I think I'm right in saying you got to be like 18 to do halves and Ironman. So like, if you got to be 18, then a lot of people are just going to stay in short course earlier. But if you're just like a new person coming into the sport, it's like, I think personally it's, if I was an age group, I think it's a lot more attractive racing a longer course, like, just the whole vibe around it. Like, it's more relaxed. Like, you can go to these cool locations, like you can take your families out and all that. Like, short courses as an age group dynamic is still like, I still think it's a difficult kind of concept, like short course professional racing is kind of hard enough in terms of trying to get that, trying to get the viewing numbers up, like trying to get sponsorships, etc. Like, it is hard in short course, even though like when you race it as a professional, it's incredible. Like, I love it. I just don't know if it brings that same excitement as an amateur as what like going to an Ironman event as an amateur would bring you.
I think it goes down to as well, like, people only watch the Olympic distance stuff at the Olympics outside of the sport. Like, for instance, because I'm a bit triathlon mad, I watch everything, but that's the only people that kind of watch it. So I think like the Olympics distance is only like watched at Commonwealth Games, Olympics, which is like what, every 2 and 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even Commonwealth Games is is losing its traction a bit now as well. In terms of, like, it's not even going to be in 2026, which is a bit of a shame. But, like, you'd rather see the games go ahead. But yeah, I mean, that is like, the fact that triathlon in short course, certainly from World Triathlon Racing point of view, it's put behind a paywall as far as World Cup and World Series. So that would be your top level and your second tier. And then in terms of third tier racing, which again is like a lot of us will do that sort of racing, you're having to go on some dodgy streaming link on like some random website, and like, like it's difficult. And even me, like, I mean, we racers is a little different, but like to have to watch a 2-hour Olympic distance, like quite often I'll go away and come back in and all that. Like I can sit and watch a sprint quite easily because there's quite a lot going on, but just a lot of it in terms of like the commentary, kind of, the videoing of the events, like the content production is just like, it's not where it should be for the kind of level that the athletes are. Like, I mean, the athletes are incredible. Like, it is literally like the Formula One of the sport. Like, and you see like Superdry do a brilliant job with that. Like, it's well covered. Like, there's a lot of content. Like, just everything is put into one place, and it creates a great product for the athletes and viewers. But as far as World Triathlon is concerned, it's still struggling to get over those hurdles. And to be honest with you, like when I would come back home from racing, like, and I would meet like, you'd see the young kids from the Northeast, like training and all that. And like, whenever you chat to them, like they knew you from Supertry, or Super League as it was known. Like, they know you from that sort of stuff because you can watch it for free. Like it's on YouTube, whatever. Like, and all the athletes get a lot of coverage. Like they wouldn't have a clue that like I'd raced World Under 23s or World Cup in, the middle of nowhere or whatever. It's like, but it's, it's interesting. Yeah, exactly. So like, unless you're following the athletes personally on Instagram, like, a lot of people aren't going to be able to see much triathlon, like you say, outside of the Olympics and maybe stuff like Supertry.
Yeah, because I've made videos for you at Supertry, so I know what their setup is. And they're like so on it with kind of like everything media kind of based, because it's right though, you do have to kind of try and build yourself a bit of an identity. Like the likes of Sam Long, Joe Skipper, they've all built their kind of personality on socials, and that's why they're getting the kind of views and people knowing who they are, a kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, of course, like, again, there's, as we discussed there before, there's definitely a higher proportion of amateurs racing long course or like, longer events, like whatever it might be. And naturally, those people are going to gravitate towards the professionals who have obviously content out there, but also like you, Charles Barkley, Lucy, you got like Joe, like you said, Sam, who I did a lot with in the US, and like, like they're going to get a hell of a lot more viewership. And like, obviously, there is more and more short course people getting like kind of content at a high level putting out there. But it's like, other than the very select kind of top few people, a lot of people aren't going to stumble across like sort of the stuff that like we put out and like stuff like that. Whereas like if I was in like long course and we'd done the same sort of videos, like, I'd take a bet that like it would get a bigger kind of audience. It's just the nature of the two sports, You
just need to go longer then, don't you? But do you think that's something that do you think that's something like when you were kind of starting is something that you should have like not even been taught but like learned more about, of having a kind of social media presence? Because there is a lot of people who kind of like it either hits really well, or they've just kind of, I need to set up a like Instagram for the sake of it kind of thing. Because it's like that for like age groupers. You've got people who've done like, say, one Ironman, then all of a sudden they're like this influencer, like a coach, whatever, discount code person.
Yeah.
Like they've built themselves a kind of presence online.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a difficult one because obviously, like, again, like, I mean, I didn't have social media. It was basically the infancy of social media. So when it first came out, and obviously no one knew what to do back then. And really, like, I would say triathlon content, other than like when you had Talbot with Lionel, like doing that a long time ago, like triathlon content was not really like getting that serious and that professional until like probably like really like, 5 or so years ago, and like obviously it's taken a massive, you know, upside in the last few years. But yeah, there's a lot of that goes around. Like you gotta have social media because sponsors want it and all of that, and like, obviously it's hard to compete in terms of like when you got the big athletes with big budgets, like they can produce like obviously like cinema plumbing quality videos every week, and it's like, clearly they're gonna get the kind of views in that. But it's a shame that like I do find a lot of it becomes like very like monotonous. It's like, you look on and like it'll be like training starts for the week, or once I've seen like I've scrolling and I've seen like 10 people tell me that they've done like, 300 hours that week and they've done this many watts on one session and all that. And I'm like, eventually it's like, it's just like, it all just seems the same, and I think that's where like, when you have got these individual characters like Skipper and Long and Lucy and stuff like that, like they've got the kind of individual personality out there. They don't really put up much stuff like that. Like they're just their own person, and that's probably why they stand out a lot more.
Yeah, I think as well because especially like the likes who we've just said, they're not. Yes, they're like showing everyone what sessions are doing and stuff, but they're not putting kind of. I've done like you said, specific sessions and stuff, because I think that's when the kind of, from my point of view, the age group scene, that's when people start doing stupid stuff and go, right, I'm going to follow Sam Long's plan for the
Yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah.
It all over the place, and then they end up getting injured.
It's keto
Then,
diet as well.
yeah, keto IQ code Dan20.
Yeah.
But I think
yeah. I mean, you risk that, yeah.
But like you said though, I think as well it's a budget thing as well. Like the people who are making these videos, like they're not cheap as well. Especially like when you look at the kind of like the likes of Daniel Backergard and stuff, his content is unreal. It's so good. And
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
cinematic, it's ridiculous. But if like an up and coming 70.3 sprint try guy wanted to do that, that's just so like kind of not unattainable because of how much kind of employing a videographer, people like that would be.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, it's like, yeah, and it's right place, right time as well. Like, obviously, I know you've helped me a few times with videos and stuff like that, and like, it's like, even just finding someone to start with is hard enough. Do you know what I mean? And like, you are obviously through a friend of a friend and all that, but it's like, yeah, to get that level of like, someone's following you around daily, like, it isn't feasible because like you're trying to worry about spending like, 20 grand to go to Kona for like 3 days or whatever. You can't afford to then take a blooming photographer out with you.
But then that was like
yeah,
that was like when so I did a couple of videos for Skipper when he first started, and I think you were quite good when I did them for you because you understood what the content kind of like you wanted it to look like, and you would kind of do
yeah.
practice reps and stuff so I could get the content. Whereas Skipper was kind of like, I need to train, like that's life. If you miss me, you miss me, catch me up kind of thing. Yeah, you kind of understood the assignment and kind of we got some good content out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's again like it comes down to that professionalism, but like obviously it depends on characters, but like I understand that like unlike Joe, like the audience is gonna be like smaller, and
Yeah.
like you're trying to attract new people in, so like to do that you do need to get like good content, you need to get the right content, and that's where like you would come out and like I'd have it planned in like when we would go out and stuff and we would do specific stuff.
Yeah.
And that is like that's the stuff that you don't a lot of people don't see. Like there is like yes there is the element of like eat sleep train and like I'll do nothing all day and play darts and whatever, do you know what I mean? But like there is like a whole, especially in your racing, like there's a whole other spectrum of the sport that like people don't see, and you have to work equally hard on that professional front to get anywhere, even with a manager and stuff like that. Like you have to work very, very hard to create like a presence alongside like trying to be an athlete at the highest level as well.
Because I can imagine
obviously
it's like
variable.
Yeah, I can imagine like sometimes the last thing you want to do is when you get home is to like, oh shit, I need to make a reel or like post something on Insta. It is like a second, like a fourth discipline, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, there's a lot of fourth disciplines nowadays with nutrition and recovery and yeah, this product and that product and reels. I mean, I can't be like honestly. Sometimes I cannot be bothered at all. Like you just, and I mean, obviously, I haven't touched social media basically since July last year, which like, again, it's not very professional as I said before of me, and it's not ideal. But obviously, going through like a long-term injury, it's incredibly difficult personally to like have to want to produce like content out there for people when like that like nothing's going right, and it's like I want it to be somewhat real, but like also it's like when I said before around it being monotonous, it's like I don't want it to be like like week 40 of injury diary or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I couldn't face doing it. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously the hidden side of it, but yeah, I'd love to have someone just 24/7 taking care of it all, but like, yeah, just don't have the budget to do that.
Yeah.
No.
So what have you got for the rest of the season? What's your plans for going forward?
I mean, the big thing is just getting back on track. Yeah, like as I said, I don't have a specific goal in mind at the minute, which is obviously a bit boring. Like I'd love to be like, I want to win this, and I'm going to do this and do that. Yeah. I'm not quite in the position to do that at the minute. Like I just need to get back to 100% health before I'm worrying about things like that. But yeah, like getting back on track in terms of getting back to kind of my old self racing and ideally like, above the level I've been before, kind of in 2023 now. But yeah, also like I just want to really get involved with the kind of squad here in Leeds and the centre. Like I've been here for 7 or 8 months or so now, and I've still not managed to do a single full training week. Which like it's as disappointing for me as it is for like others. You want to have a group that can kind of all work together. So yeah, I think like I really like the dynamic here in Leeds. Like there's been a lot of shift. Like we talked about like the shift in terms of all the racing, the different athletes moving and all that. Like it's no different here. Like it's the first time I've been involved in the centre, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But it's just like there is so much change, and it's a really kind of fresh cohort of athletes here at the minute, and I'm really enjoying the kind of new dynamic of how things work. And so yeah, like I think kind of working with a new group, like obviously I'm working incredibly closely with the world-class team here as well, just to get back to like the best version of me at the minute. And then yeah, hopefully in a few months' time I can come on and be like, right, I'm gonna win this, I'm gonna win that, and I'm gonna
send some shots
and whatever. But yeah, throw a few things out there. But no, at the minute it's just about just being healthy, enjoying it again, like and getting back on the start line is a big thing. So yeah, plenty to focus on.
Nice one. But yeah, definitely we'll get you back on in the next couple of months, see how you're doing, what your plans are.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
I'll give you a game of darts as well.
Oh, you get beat at that, 100%. Nice one.
Thinks he's a Luke Littler now.
Yeah. Right, nice one. See you in a bit.
Yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.